Hello there. Thanks again, and welcome to another episode of Words of Life. I thank you, as always, for being willing to open up God's Word and dig it deeper. I pray that these videos are beneficial and helpful in giving you a greater desire to seek God's Word and to understand His will for your life. And feel free to always reach out to us. We want to encourage, if you have questions, spiritual concerns, feel free to ask questions, reach out to us. You can find us here, of course, on our website at TaylesvilleRDChurchofChrist.com. That is one of those teachings that Jesus gave that would have been very difficult, especially at the time, and can be very difficult to hear even today. And that is when he's talking about following after him. There is an unfortunate, when it comes, or it is unfortunate when people choose loved ones over following Christ. For instance, if a person who has a spouse or a child and their lives, or they're determined to not follow Christ, and that can affect the other individual passed away without a relationship with Christ, and the person is looking for answers and hoping that their child or spouse is in heaven, and when they're told the truth that since they didn't have a relationship, that they're not going to be in heaven. And so that could drive a wedge right there, and they can think to themselves, well, I don't want to be departed from my loved one after death. I know this might kind of be a difficult around, or when I'm getting to the point, it might be a little bit difficult, but hopefully it'll get more clarity as we read and then discuss this a little. Now, large crowds were going along with him, and he turned and said to them, if anyone comes to me and does not hate, and let me emphasize that phrase right there. If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not carry his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which one of you, when he wants to build a tower, does not first sit down and calculate the cost to see if he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and is not able to finish, all who observe it begin to ridicule him, saying, to meet another king in battle, will not first sit down and consider whether he is strong enough with 10,000 men to encounter the one coming against him with 20,000. Or else, while the other is still far away, he sends a delegation to ask for terms of peace, so that none of you can be my disciple who does not give up all his possessions. All right. Let me first of all by saying, yes, this is a passage that is difficult for some to hear. It was definitely a passage, or when Christ was talking to his audience at the time, this would have been difficult for them to listen. And in verse 26, where it says, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his own family, it could also be illustrated as by comparison of his love for me. What he is getting at or anyone else, even our own lives. Our love for Christ should be so much greater, there should be no question, and then that there is no obstacle that we will put in our lives to keep us from serving the Lord. And sometimes it could be our relationships with loved ones, or it could be something that has to do with ourselves. We're not willing to make the sacrifice. We care about too much about ourselves, the way we live our lives, and we're just not willing to give up certain things in our lives. We're not willing to deny self, where he gives examples of like taking up your cross each and every day, self-sacrifice. And then he gave other illustrations when he talks about when a person realistically will always sit down if they're wise, if they don't have the proper tools, the finance on how they're going to accomplish that task. The same thing with someone who goes out to war. Now, at that time, it was very possible that if someone were to choose Jesus, especially in them, they could lose their family. And that was a very real thing that individuals had to decide. And so that would be very applicable as it is today, because people can decide, okay, am I going to follow Christ, or am I going to, because for instance, if let's just make it a quick illustration. Let's say that my family has no desire, and they're saying you could go and serve and believe and live for God and Christ, but we don't want you around. Somewhat, I mean, it's similar to what is being said here to these folks that he is talking to. He's telling them, hey, look, your families may reject you, but you can't love them more than you love me. And that's very hard. But he's saying that your love for me should be so much greater. And he's not telling you to hate your family, but your love for him, your love for Christ, has got to be so much greater than anything else in your life, even in your own personal life. So I hope that when we initially started talking about even the example about individuals who have family members who may have passed on, and that could drive a potential wedge and they just don't want to see Christ or live for him because they don't want to be separated for all eternity. They'd rather spend an eternity wherever their loved ones are at. It's sad that some take that point of view or make that decision. That's so very sad, because we do have an example in Luke 16 where, and that's not the full point that Jesus is getting at when he is just talking about the rich man and Lazarus. But that's one aspect where the man is in torment and he doesn't want his loved ones to be where he is at. He wants them to be saved. And so just consider that for a moment. But hopefully didn't give you are difficult. But we have to make a stand. We have to decide, is there anything in this life we are going to choose to care more about than than Christ? Is there something in this life we are going to make more important than living for Jesus and living for God? I hope that these videos continue to give you things to think about, give you things to consider, and I hope and pray that you will choose to follow Jesus more than anything else in this life. So may God bless you and have a great day.